Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Kuina is an extremely important character to Zoro's past, being the girl that inspired Zoro to become stronger and making him wish to become the greatest swordsman in the world. But unfortunately, destiny came to take her life unexpectedly, which made Zoro wander on a journey in search of fulfilling the dream of them both. But what would have happened if Kuina had been still alive? In today's video, we're going to talk about Kuina, how important this character is for Zoro's development, what the possibility of her appearing in the work once again is, and what this could cause in terms of changing history. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel or even if you've watched a bunch of our videos, we'd be absolutely honored if you'd leave us a like and even subscribe and maybe leave us a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out, especially with that YouTube algorithm, and it motivates us to make more content. And if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing this video or another one of your favorites with a friend. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So my friends, Kuina was a childhood friend and rival of Kuina and Zoro. She was the daughter of Kushiro and a descendant of the famous Shimotsuki family of Wano country, possessing sword master ancestors. With all the amazing swordsmen and sword wielders that existed from her ancestry, this made her wish to also become an impeccable and great swordswoman. However, Kushiro was very worried about the possibility that his daughter could properly inherit his dojo. His wife had expressed hope in Kuina's strength, and as a result, Kuina was properly trained in swordsmanship from a very early age. By the age of 11, Kuina had become the strongest disciple in the dojo, unbeatable by anyone else. And remarkably, she had faced 2,000 fights against another prodigy disciple known as Kuina and Zoro, and had defeated him at every encounter. This always frustrated Zoro when he lost Kuina, but it wasn't because she was a woman, but it was because he was never able to overcome her once, so he could never really achieve his goal. Despite all of these successes, her father maintained the concern that men would naturally outgrow the swordsmanship with age, which made her feel insecure as she knew that in the future, she might not be as skilled as she was now just because she was a woman. Eventually, Kuina accepted a new challenge from Zoro to duel with genuine steel swords, and in the dead of night, she brought out her family's most important sword, the Meito Wado Ichimonji, and used it against Zoro's swords. Kuina managed to defeat the young boy once again. However, as she celebrated for a brief moment, she noticed that Zoro had cursed her weakness, and seeing that Zoro was showing his real feelings, Kuina decided to say everything she felt as well. Kuina confessed her own insecurities, including her dream of becoming the greatest swordswoman in the world, and her jealousy of Zoro because just the fact that he was a man meant that he might be able to achieve this goal, unlike her that over the years, her body may not be able to use swords in the same way. Zoro was initially shocked by what Kuina had said, but he was soon enraged by Kuina's words and insisted that she continue to persist in her dreams of becoming a swordswoman, and that it didn't matter that she had been born male or female, and finally said that it was one day he would be able to win and finally defeat her for the first time. The faith that Zoro showed Kuina emboldened her even more, and together they made a mutual vow that one day one of them would become the greatest swordsperson in the world, and forming that promise in which Zoro and Kuina carried until the last days of their lives. Unfortunately, this would be their last interaction, as the day after they made their pact, Kuina accidentally fell down a ladder with a fatal impact. And upon seeing her lifeless body, Zoro tearfully accused her of breaking her promise. So to quell his pain and honor her memory, he swore again to become a master swordsman who could fulfill not only his own dream, but hers as well, fulfilling the desire to become the greatest swordsman in the world for both of them. And to this day, Zoro carries Kuina's memory in his mind and makes him wield the Wado Ichimonji as his main blade, and it also led him to develop his three-sword style as his main fighting style. Approximately 7 years after their final duel, Zoro would leave Shimotsuki village to start out as a professional swordsman, with the ultimate goal of defeating Dracula Mihawk, currently known as the greatest swordsman in the world. Though he was unsuccessful on his first try, as Mihawk easily defeated him, showing the young swordsman the vast difference in strength between Zoro and Mihawk, he still persisted in his and Kuina's dream. Currently, Zoro stands as one of the most renowned swordsmen in the world, as well as the second most notorious member of the Straw Hat Pirates, behind only their captain, the Yonko, Monkey D. Luffy. For quite some time, Kuina's memory always drifted up into Zoro's memory, and when he ran into a person very similar to her during one of their adventures, it brought the memory all the more importantly into the fore. The person who brought this memory back was of course Tashigi, a marine officer and a woman who bore many similarities to Kuina, both in appearance and of her interests in becoming a great swordswoman. And not only that, she had an encyclopedic knowledge of all the great swords in the world. However, this had mostly subsided when the Straw Hats entered the New World, and it's unknown if Kuina is related to Tashigi, as the two characters certainly bear a very strong resemblance to each other. Now, it is possible that Oda may have just used Tashigi to bring Zoro's memory out as a narrative ploy, so that we could see him remember his old friend and his promise to become the greatest swordsman in the world, since the real Kuina may have really lost her life. And this all depends on whether or not Tashigi is in fact Kuina, and where she may have lost her memories after falling down the stairs. Because as we know, Kuina's father had a great insecurity about his daughter running the dojo. If Kuina had survived the fall but lost her memories, he may have even prevented Zoro from ever knowing that she was still alive, and repressing his daughter's desire to become a swordswoman. However, that still may not have ever been enough to make her desire to become a great swordswoman really fade from her mind, even if she had lost the rest of her memories. Now, before you go all naysay in the comments, let's look at a little bit of the evidence. Tashigi too was born in the East Blue, just like Kuina and Zoro. Although we don't know much about her past, we know that since her childhood, she has trained with swords, something that we could see that there really can be a great connection with Kuina and her past. Another piece of evidence is that Zoro did see a great resemblance between Tashigi and Kuina because of her great swordsmanship that Tashigi possessed. This is on top of the fact that she shares the same will as Kuina had, making him think all the more that Tashigi could actually in fact be Kuina, although she just didn't recognize Zoro. Tashigi only knew of Zoro because of the fact that he was a former pirate hunter, being wanted worldwide for having officially become a pirate and allying himself with the Straw Hats, causing her to have a great interest in capturing it. Now, to be fair, it is true that this idea that Tashigi could in fact really be Kuina is a little difficult to come true, but we can see that even though Tashigi is not Kuina, this did make Zoro kind of shake into his core when he met her. Just the fact that Tashigi strongly resembled Kuina took the young swordsman back to his past trauma, remembering his inability to win against her and seeing her lose her life after a promise in which they had both placed their hopes, and Zoro having to carry on after seemingly losing his best friend and rival. If it were ever revealed that Tashigi were in fact Kuina, and she were to really reappear in the future and become an ally or even an enemy of Zoro, this could make Zoro really psychologically shaken, possibly causing one of the most exciting scenes to happen in One Piece. And again, something similar to this has already happened in One Piece, so it wouldn't be impossible for it to happen again. I mean, after the time skip, we saw that Sabo had survived the boat accident and had been rescued by the revolutionaries. However, Sabo had completely lost his memory, forgetting his brother Ace and even Luffy, and it was only after a trauma in which he saw the newspaper that Ace had lost his life in the Battle of the Best in Marineford that Sabo finally regained his memories and remembered his past. It was in that moment that Sabo remembered that he still had a brother that he should give his life to protect, and the same could happen to Kuina if she is really Tashigi, because really we absolutely know nothing about her other than her goals. Tashigi's past still remains a big mystery that opens up a lot of possibilities, especially narratively. And if Tashigi ended up being Kuina, this would not only bring back everything from Zoro's past, but would also help her remember her goals, and also bring a moment of closure where the two could finally clash swords, and where Zoro might actually get a chance to defeat his best and biggest rival that he's ever had in his life. And if this latent memory came back, that doesn't automatically mean that Tashigi or Kuina would automatically come back to Zoro's side. I mean, unlike Zoro, who would become even closer to Luffy after remembering his past, Kuina might not act in the same way. I mean, she has her principles because she's a member of the Marines. Add on the fact that they both share the same dream, it would be necessary for Kuina to defeat Zoro and Mihawk to achieve their childhood goal, causing an enmity or at least rivalry between these two characters. So when you take a step back and think about it, we have seen the lost memory ploy happen narratively in One Piece, and it would be a really interesting narrative way to bring someone from Zoro's past into the present. So this possibility, although remote, does exist, and it could be realized in the future, revealing to us the great mystery that hides behind a character Tashigi could in fact be Kuina. But with all that said, my friends, we'd love to know what you think about it. Do you think that there's enough evidence that Tashigi could be Kuina? And if she is, why would her father have told Zoro that she died? Would it have been to spur Zoro on, or more or less protect his daughter from the cruel reality that she may not be able to grow up and become the greatest swordsman in the world? And finally, if we were to have the Tashigi Kuina reveal, where do you think it would make the most sense in our story moving forward? I mean, we know that we're heading into the final saga of One Piece, so where might this be a good way to reveal? I mean, we wouldn't want a moment like this just to be a throwaway. And we do know that Zoro has had a little bit of lack of character development since his whole arc during Thriller Bark, where he got to face off against the legendary swordsman of Wano. Let us know what you think about all that in the comments below. So as we bring our video to a close, I'd like to thank all of you so much for watching the video, especially those of you who've made it here to the very end. Be sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like and hit that red subscribe button before you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.